My guest today is Jennifer Stalley, and you may not know Jennifer, but you should, I think. She's going to start making some waves, and I'm excited to hear more about this. So, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thanks, Amy. I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here to talk about sustainability because I love nature, I love the ocean, I love land, and I want to make sure it's still here for the future.
Mm, that's a that's a big order. It's a tall order, but we have to, right? We
I'm
have
doing
to.
what I
It's
can.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But so Jennifer has a really cool product that she's putting out. And I would love for you to tell us about it. It is called 𝗙𝗍𝗄𝘃, and it is sustainable sensory toys. Okay.
Yes,
Whew.
exactly.
It was
You
it
got
felt like
it.
it felt kind of tongue twistery for me, and I'm sorry. So sustainable sensory toys.
It's a lot of alliteration. Yeah. I got into sensory toys when my daughter had a speech delay in the pandemic. She just started school this week, as we were talking about, and I can't believe how far she's come. But back in the early pandemic days, she was behind on her first speech milestones and then fell a little further behind. And I think I did what every mom would do when they hear this. It was a 9-month wait to get to see a specialist to
Mm,
understand what we could do to help her with the speech delay. And I was just not going to sit around for 9 months and do nothing and wait when I knew early intervention is the most helpful thing we could possibly do.
right.
So I reached out to the pediatrician. I did some research to understand, well, what are we doing with occupational therapy anyway? What is speech therapy going to do? And a lot of it was sensory play, which totally makes sense because children learn through play. That's how they experience their world. That's how they learn about the world. They're little
Mm,
scientists conducting thousands of experiments a day, right? And they're learning what's hot and cold and rough and smooth. So we know that the more senses that are engaged in play, the deeper the learning that happens. That totally makes sense when you think about how closely tied our sense of smell or taste is to our memory, right? If you smell grandmother's cookies baking one more time, you're immediately in your mind back in grandma's kitchen with those cookies. So I was reading this thinking, this totally makes sense. And I'm all in on this. I'm super creative and I love doing these arts and crafts projects. So let's do sensory play.
And it's a
And
pandemic, and everyone's home, right?
right,
What else are you gonna do?
exactly. Yeah, I got time, right? I've got a job. My husband had a job. We had no childcare. So what else was I gonna do? I remember being up late at night, nursing my daughter, thinking, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do tomorrow when I'm done working and it's my turn to be in charge of childcare? And also I have to make dinner, but also it's the end of the day, so I'm totally toast because I've been up all night too."
Right.
And I'm an introvert, and I had this big new corporate job that I was really trying to knock out of the park, and it was just a lot, right? And I had a lot of mom guilt at the time about how I would spend so much time with my daughter that was just not meaningful. It wasn't moving anything forward. I wasn't at my best. I didn't have any energy. So I realized I have to get ahead of this. So at night, I would be searching Pinterest for toddler activities and sensory activities so that we could get the most out of her play and help with the speech delay.
Mm,
But it turns out I didn't have the time or the bandwidth to make all of these amazing Pinterest things myself. So that's where I found that people out there in the world, bless them, have been making these kits, and I could just for $40 order one to have shipped to my house. And I built up a little stash. I've been working in the garage this whole time. This is my office. And I built up a little stash in the garage. And at the end of the day, I would grab one on the way in when I was really tapped out and I didn't
yeah.
have a lot of emotional energy to sit down and play. And I just needed a minute at the end of the day, in particular, that witching hour of like 4 to 6 o'clock. So I would put one down in the middle of the kitchen and I would bake dinner with a vegetable while she would play with her sensory kit in the middle of the kitchen. And it was great because I felt like the best mom in the world. She was getting the play that she wanted. The play was maximized to help her with her speech delay and maximum amount of learning because we were engaging all of the senses. I could do just like one or two things at a time instead of like four or five at a time. And by the time dinner hit the table, I had recharged a little bit. She got what she needed out of that playtime. And I was right there. I could monitor, I could participate if I wanted to. I could give her little accolades for, oh, I see what you've built and I see what you're playing and you're doing so great. But I was able to have a moment to myself. And I love any solution that works really well for children, but also for mom, because that's going to be ultimately sustainable for the family.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't have kids, but it's just like that. I get out of work and I have to make dinner and I have to walk the dog and I have to take care of like, and like I was telling you, it's 90 degrees here right now
Yeah.
in September, and I need to run ice outside to the chickens and stuff like that. And like, when
It's
do
a
I have
lot.
time to make dinner? And that right after work period is always so
Yeah.
tricky. I'm like all day long trying to figure out how everything's going to fit. I can't imagine having a child that needs like extra attention at that point. Whew.
We both are very tied into the environment, right? I live in the Santa Cruz Mountains because I want to be near the trees and I want fresh air and I love just being out in nature. So we have a little garden and I was gardening with my daughter and I was like, okay, this is me at peak mom. I'm doing some great momming. I'm teaching her about the environment and where her food comes from and the circle of life and all of that. And so we were digging in the garden one spring and I'm like up to my elbows in dirt. And out of the soil in our raised garden bed popped a plastic clown toy that was from one of the sensory kits that I had ordered a year before that we didn't even love because it was a circus theme. And what is circus anymore anyway to children? Like they're not going
Right.
to a circus. She doesn't know what this is. So it was a double-edged sword of like, we didn't even like this kit. And here's this plastic toy popping out of the soil in this moment where I'm trying to teach her about the value of earth and plants and animals and how are we good stewards of the earth and how do we take what we need and not any more than that. And then this plastic toy pops out. And all I could think about was we're super into dinosaurs, right? So all I could think about was some archaeologist in the future is going to dig up our home site and go, oh, a small child lived here. Look at all of these plastic toys everywhere because they are going to outlive all of us, right? It could be 600 years from now and we're done and dusted, but the toys are still here. And I just had this moment of like, I can't do this anymore. I love sensory play. I know how beneficial it is. I really want to keep it going, but I cannot order these plastic toys anymore. And I really thought about buckling down and trying to go back to those early days of Pinterest and how can I could do this myself. I could dye the rice. I could order 600 different kinds of pasta on the next grocery order and we could put this together ourselves and I'll stay more on top of it this time and I'll stay more organized. And I was thinking, you don't even believe this when you're promising yourself this. You know this is unrealistic.
Right.
You don't have the bandwidth for this. So I thought long and hard about what do I do about this? Because I know that this is so important. It's important for my daughter. It's important for a lot of children out there, actually. And how are you supposed to do this in a way that's sustainable, that is good for the children and good for the planet? Because if we don't have a planet, what was the point of any of it? Like that's what we're handing over to our children.
Right.
So I sat down with my husband and I was like, I don't know how to do this, but somebody needs to do this. And he was like, I think that's us. And it took me a really long time, Amy. It's taken me a year to get to market with these sensory toy kits because the toy industry is not geared towards sustainability. Plastic is just so rampant and
Mm-hmm.
it's in the DNA right now of the toy industry. And I had a really hard time just initially communicating my vision for what I was talking about. And people didn't understand how to take the toy that they had and make it sustainable. Or I'd talk to somebody with a sustainable, all natural material, and I'd try to tweak that to toy standards. And the two just they don't intersect.
Oh, interesting. Well, I
Yeah,
think
it
I
was.
remember you saying way back, when we initially talked, and you were saying, it's just that whole mom guilt thing. You were like, I want to do this. I want to be able to do this for her and with her, but it's so expensive.
Yeah.
to like, and to keep purchasing those kits and stuff like that. And then you would come to this conclusion, which was that had to be just horrifying. It's like this is the earth, this is where things grow, and
Right.
and plastic is here too.
Yes, this plastic clown of all the things. Yeah, so we put a lot of effort into putting the product together. We ended up finding a sustainable solution to contain it all, because one of the things that was really overwhelming to me as a mom, and I think a lot of people could identify with this, is that I said from the beginning, I'm not doing toys that have multiple parts. I am responsible for plenty. I do not need to keep all of the parts of the toy together. Just no, don't do it. It needs to be a complete toy in and of itself. But the whole thing with sensory play is that it has 1,000 tiny parts so that the kids can build this whole environment out, and their imaginary world is literally coming to life in their hands between the Play-Doh and the slime or the sand that's included in the kit. And then it has lots of little loose parts like trees and rocks and stones or seashells, whatever the
Right.
theme is. And then we have little wooden peg dolls as our characters or as the animals. And so the kids can put it all together themselves. And depending on where they're at in their development, the younger kids are just really excited to be able to get their hands messy in the clay and the slime and the sand. And that's plenty for a lot of them. And they can press the seashells in and make the designs and the prints. But as they progress through their development, the older kids are getting more out of the social and emotional aspects of the characters and how they're playing off of each other. And
Hmm.
they can come up with some pretty elaborate stories. It's really fun to watch the open-ended play unfold. But I digress. It was so exciting to be able to find something that would keep all of these tiny parts together. And it's beautiful. It's a wheat and bamboo straw storage box, and we put a wrap around the side, and the design matches the theme that's inside. So when the play is done, all you have to do is sweep all the little parts up together and put them in the storage box and close it up, and it looks nice and neat. You can stick that on the shelf or hide it in your garage like I was doing in the early days, and you can tell without even opening it exactly what's inside, because you can see that wrap. Oh, this is clearly Santa's village, or this is clearly the mermaids under the sea, or the dinosaurs. And so you can grab whatever theme it is that you're looking to play with that day without opening it up, and everything is contained together, and you have one beautiful, very serene box that people wouldn't even necessarily notice was a toy if you set it on your shelf. So that was really important to me, that we had something that brought it all together, and I was not going to just put it in a plastic box and walk away. Like, the whole point was to get off of plastic, but
Hmm.
it took us a minute to get that design just how we wanted it.
Yeah, that's so tricky. And it's not it's obviously it's more than just toys. Like it's just everywhere. What my husband and I were just talking about. Was it my husband? No, I was talking at the refill store how, at least in Maine, we had banned single-use plastic bags, and then with the pandemic, like everything, we bags weren't allowed inside the store. They gave you everything in plastic, and it was so painful. But even still, now they're not using this single-use plastic bags anymore for groceries, but they still have the produce bags, and they're
Wow.
so wildly excited to use them. Like,
Yeah.
let me put this around everything.
It
Like,
kills me when you buy celery and it's in a plastic bag. Why does the celery have to be in a plastic bag? Yeah. I'm like a packaging police now. Everything that I look at, I'm going, how come
oh,
this was a box in a box? Why did we use plastic shipping tape on the inside box, and the outside box is the eco tape? Like, what? There's just no consolidated, focused effort on any of this, and it's driving me crazy because I'm so aware of it now, having put all of this solution together myself.
hmm.
Uh, and I was talking with my mom the other day, and I was like, I don't know, I want to make sure this is as affordable as possible so that as many families as possible can use this. And she was like, Jennifer, look, the thing is, you have to ask yourself, how much are you willing to pay to save the earth? Because if you don't have an earth, then what is the point of any of it? I was
Mm,
like, okay, yes, I hear you, mom. I understood.
right,
You're
right.
preaching to the choir. I'm
Yeah,
sold.
yeah, you're not telling me something I don't know.
Right.
but yeah, I mean, and in the production world, everyone is saying, send it away, like have it outsourced because it'll be so much cheaper. But it's also,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And there's still a long ways to go. We don't have everything fully optimized yet for sustainability, but it's so much better than it would have been. And as we grow, if people keep supporting us, we can do so much more, and we can continue to optimize those things.
Mm.
Um, I'd love to be able to offer carbon offset credits for the shipping. Like, there's just so much to do. And you had asked at the top, what does sustainability mean to me? And I've been thinking about that. And I do a lot of hiking and a lot of horseback riding in the backcountry, and I grew up around a campfire, and I've heard many times, pack in, pack it out. And I think about the leave no trace, only footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting to a point in my life where I don't understand why there's so much garbage at the end of the week. Like, where did all this garbage come from? What are we even using? And just really trying to understand, how do I make sure that my impact in my short span of however many years I get here, knock wood, how do I leave as little trace as possible? And when I was thinking about, there's all these families out there that need sensory play, and I think every child, not just neurodivergent children, but even neurotypical children, will benefit from sensory play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all these moms could use a break. And I would love for them to be able to have a quiet moment to drink their coffee or to cook dinner with a vegetable, if that's what they want to do. Then I would love to get that out there. But at the end of the day, I couldn't sleep at night knowing that I was trying to scale more plastic. It
Mm-hmm.
just didn't align with where my values were at. And I knew if we did this, I had to be able to sleep at night. I had to feel good about what we were doing. And I just couldn't scale something that was going the opposite direction. Oh my gosh, Amy, I have a stat for you today. There are 21,000 pieces of plastic in the ocean for every person alive on the planet right now.
Oh, what, per person?
Yep.
Oh.
So I have a new goal. I want to go sailing at some point in my life. I want to just live on a boat and see the world from a boat. And I'm going to pick up 21,000 pieces of plastic. I'm going to do my part. That's my leave no trace, right? I'm going to go find the plastic. It's just out of control at this point. And I know that there's a place for plastic. We need it in our healthcare systems. There are certain things that have to be plastic, and thank goodness we have it, but there are so many things that do not have to be plastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking as you were talking about this, and I'm not going to say it very well, but it would be a cool legacy to leave a legacy of leaving no trace.
Exactly.
Something like to
Only
something
the
like
memory.
that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it's so true. And I mean, that garbage patch outside of California, oh my gosh. There's actually, I have a recent guest who is actually sailing the world currently.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I don't think I mean, you could like trawl the trash, just, put a net out and grab some trash. Those
I simply
are
don't think
incredible
it's going to be
stats.
that hard. Yeah, I don't think this is that crazy. 21,000 sounds like a lot. I don't think it's going to be that hard.
But if there's 21,000 for every person,
Mm-hmm.
that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there was a sailing race around the world not long ago, and they took samples from the ocean water all the way around the world, and every sample came back with microplastics in it. That whole solution to pollution is dilution thing doesn't sit well with me anymore. I remember hearing it in school. It was on the Nature Bowl team, of course. And,
on the Nature Bowl team?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm not like an expert on Nature Bowl. I'm pulling this from my memory. I think it was second grade, so don't quote me. But we had a Nature Bowl team. We studied everything we could about nature at the time, and then we went to a competition for the region or state or something, and we were quizzed on nature items for second graders. But anyway, I remember we talked a lot about the solution to pollution is dilution. And I remember even at that young age thinking, what? No, at a certain point, you can't
No,
dilute
take it
anymore.
out.
Like it's just that doesn't work. You're gonna run out of space eventually.
Right.
So I feel like the business at this point is in the solution to pollution is dilution stage. Like it's just less plastic toys out there, but I know that there's so much more that we could be doing. And that's one of the reasons I really appreciate being on this podcast today, is because I think so many parents have so many things to think about and optimize in their day to keep their children safe and thriving and healthy and happy. And I don't want to put one more thing on their plates, but we really have to start to think about the amount of plastic that we're using in our day. And one really easy tweak we could make is just being that much more conscious about the toys that are coming into our home
Mm-hmm.
and the impact that they're having on the earth.
That's really beautiful, actually. And you've had this in your mind since second grade. Like this is not new for you at all. Wow. That's really awesome. Really. I mean, you've had this sort of mindset since then. You know, and you just may or may not have known how to
Yeah,
make it become something, but here you are.
exactly. And I love that we can do our carbon offsets with airplane purchases now. When you fly somewhere, they've got the carbon credits there. If you want to add that on, it shows your carbon footprint from that flight. And I just
Oh,
think step one of raising people's awareness of, first of all, we have to think about it. There's so many things to think about in our day. And if this business gives me one more opportunity to talk about leave no trace and what are we doing to help improve the planet, because we're in a real deficit right now, right? Like it's going to take a generation or more of conscious action to get us
mm-hmm.
out of the situation that we're in, to rectify it. And it can be overwhelming, and I don't mean to drive any more climate anxiety for anyone, but there's a lot of work to do. And I found this one little piece with sensory play where I was like, I can make a difference. I can do this thing. This is something I can do. I don't have to do all of it, but I can make an offering out there that families can enjoy, that is more sustainable and helps us start to wean off of an unhealthy habit.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, your daughter will grow up with a mindset of, what plastic, what? I don't know.
That's the goal, right?
I've never had plastic except for that silly clown.
She does. I'm not the perfect example of this. I'm doing the best I can, and that's all that I would hope for from everyone else, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I was going to say none of
yeah,
us are.
no. And I grew up in the mountains, and I'm very much the mountain earth half of the family. My husband grew up on a boat sailing, and so he's basically a fish. He's the water piece of our yin and yang. And even our logo is a hippocampus. It's a mythical creature from Greek mythology, and it's a seahorse. It's half horse, half fish. And
I totally didn't notice that.
when I saw that, I was
Cool.
like, this is perfect. This is literally like me and my husband combined together. And it's like the two pieces of the planet, the earth and the water coming together. And whatever people's connection is to Mother Nature, however they're drawn to this journey of taking care of our planet, whether it's from your hiking days or from your swimming, boating days. I think that there's so much for us to do. And I wanted to honor that in some way in our company's ethos and logo there.
That's so great. That's so great. And so the toys that you're making, your daughter loves them, I
Loves
assume?
them. The hardest part has been when the samples come and I have to take them away from her. I need these for pictures. And I know it doesn't make any sense to her at this point,
I'll
but
give it to you in a second.
yes, she's learned that taking pictures has to happen before play. It's a very interesting message to give her there. She's gotten really patient about it, but she's super excited and is a great beta tester for me.
That's sweet. You've got your own resident tester. Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. We did a photo shoot a few months ago where we had lots of different families and children come and participate and play with the kits. And it was a lot of fun market research too. And I thought, I think about these toys all the time. There's nothing that's going to surprise me. And then in the middle of the play, one of the kids took one of the dinosaur eggs and covered it in the Play-Doh and then pretended like it was hatching. And it was so creative. And I thought, no, there's so many different things that kids are going to get out of this. And to me, that's one of the magical parts of it, is that it's not like Legos where I have to sit down as the parent and say, okay, step one, we need this piece, hand me that. Here's how we put it together. And it's just your kid watching you assemble the toy and then they're going to run off and play with it.
Right.
This is all that, like from the minute they open the lid, they're off on their own adventure in their imagination, and it's totally open-ended and it can go wherever they need to go. And I'm not required to participate in that if I don't want to. And it's lovely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, just to hear you talking about that, Jennifer, about the Legos, like I know Legos are such a big deal for a lot of kids,
Yeah.
but when the adult says, "Let me show you how to do it," you've basically sucked all the fun out of
I
it,
know.
right?
Yeah. And the learning, like it's a very specific kind of learning. My whole family are educators. My aunt, my parents, my sister, they're all in education. And I know that there are different styles of learning, and let me do this or let me show you how this is done only works for a very small subset. And the younger and younger you are, the less that their children are getting out of that, right? We know the
Mhm.
value of play-based learning, and that goes out the window when you have to take over as the parent. So
Right.
Legos are great. I'm not knocking Legos. They have a place. I wish it was less plastic. We're not that. We're an alternate type of play.
Mm, cool. Well, it's so like expressive and it's so creative and it's so yeah, that's all I have for words. But like fun.
Yeah.
You know,
It
you can
has
just
to be fun.
make anything out of it.
Yeah. If it's not fun, then it's not doing anything for anyone. It's not helping mom. It's not working for the kids. So we have a few different themes right now. We've got the Under the Sea kit with the mermaids is really popular,
I bet.
and it's one of my favorites. And the dinosaur one, I wasn't that into at first, and then it just kept building and building and building on itself, and it's so cute. So we have two little wooden dinosaurs and all of the pieces that go with them, all the prehistoric pieces. Every kit has some kind of paper element, and so the dinosaur kit has prehistoric leaves that are included, and they're printed on the paper, and all of the paper is actually wildflower seed paper. So that at some point when this paper gets away from us or it gets thrown away or sent out into the world by these children, at least we're spreading some more flowers, right? We're supporting the bees.
Yeah.
There are going to be more wildflowers in the world because of the kit, because I'm just being realistic. At some point, the pieces of this will be scattered around the world, right? Like it's not going to stay together. So I just really wanted to make sure we had stuff that was biodegradable, and I loved the opportunity to include the wildflowers. So that's the wildflower paper in the dinosaur kit. The mermaid kit has a treasure chest included that has the coins made out of the wildflower paper. And so each one of them has its own wildflower paper element. Super
I
fun.
love that. There needs to be more of that. Like just all cards and tags and stuff should just be that
And it's
because
so beautiful and heirloom feeling. And I loved that it added that like quality element to the kit. My husband actually works for Rivian, and one of the things they talk about a lot is that they're trying to make electric pickup trucks, and they don't want people to buy a Rivian because they want to go electric. They want people to buy a Rivian pickup truck because it's a better truck, and it happens to be electric. And it's something I think about a lot with our kits, that our toy has to be the best toy, and it happens to be what's also best for the planet.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh man. That's an interesting that's an interesting thing for Rivian. I don't, it's not, you're not buying it because you want an electric truck. You
Right.
just want a really good quality truck that just happens to be
It
electric.
has to be a great truck first.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the electric piece is secondary. I love mine. It's working great. I haul my horse trailer with it all the time. But it's a great principle of like, you can't just be eco-friendly or sustainable. It's the product has to be the best product for its purpose
Mhm.
first, and then you do it in a way that is sustainable and eco-friendly.
I love that. I love things that make you think, and you're just like, okay, that makes sense. That makes total sense, really. Um, cool. Wow. And so do you have kits available for sale right now?
I do. I have kits available for sale right now. And I also have a free download that we can put in the show notes. It's 5 sensory activities that people could get started with right now. They don't have to order anything. It's stuff they already have in their pantry. And if they give that a try and it's too much and you just want to be able to order it, I would love that if you would give us a consideration. And so on our website, it's 𝗚𝗶𝘲 Magic, MEEMZY magic.com. You could take a look at our kits. We have a great holiday lineup coming out if anybody's looking for holiday gifts, and we have great everyday gifts. We also have a birthday kit that's excellent for any children who want to practice or reenact their birthday. So
Fun.
my sister just ordered that for a few friends, and I'm so excited for the kids to get them.
That's so fun. So you have mermaids, you have dinosaurs, you've got
Yep.
birthday, you've got
Yep.
holidays coming up.
Yep. We have an Arctic play kit, which in Maine, maybe
Oh,
you've had enough snow play, but for us in California, it was really fun to think about some snow play. So it's got Arctic animals included. And it's a snow day without all the actual cold and wet. For
it's
when you have to
just
be
white.
inside, you know? Yeah. All this fun of snow without the cold and wet. We've got a
Sweet.
lot more planned too for the spring, but more to come on that later.
That's awesome. And you know, as technology grows and as things build up, like there's just going to be more available, like more
Yeah.
options available. I mean, I know packaging is it's such a racket, and I struggle with that with my jam business all the time. But um, it just is, you know, as we grow, it's gonna get easier. It's gonna get better. I hope, because
I
it is
think
just so
so.
hard to fight. It's hard to fight against the big plastic. Like it's
Yeah.
just everywhere.
Yeah. And I was thinking, my background's not in eco-friendly packaging, and it's not putting a product together. That's not my background. My whole background professionally is in marketing. So I was really excited to just have something to be able to market, but realized I have a whole new respect for the people who are actually putting the product together. And I got connected with somebody whose specialty is the packaging.
Mm,
And I went through all of the things that I had tried and all of the solutions that were supposed to work and didn't work, and what I was trying to optimize for. And I took them through that, and they said, okay, we'll come back to you in a week and we will have an eco-friendly solution that checks all these boxes that you've already got, plus the things you want to keep improving on. And I was like, this is amazing. Because as a small business owner, you're always looking for somebody's help where they're in their zone of genius and you can step back, right?
right.
It's been one of my lessons as an entrepreneur. Does this situation need more, Jennifer, or less? Probably less. And so I thought, oh, I can't wait to see what they come back with. And a week later, they said, this is way harder than we thought it was going to be. And we need a little more time.
Mm,
And I just felt so vindicated of like, it was hard for a reason. It wasn't me. It is hard. This is the reality of product right now, that this is not the way that the industry is set up. And they're still working on it. It's been a few months. They're getting close.
right.
And they had all kinds of solutions. I hadn't heard of mushroom packaging and things like that. And it sounds
Okay.
great. And I look forward to hearing more. But it's not an off-the-shelf solution right now.
Yep.
But the more of us who ask for it, the more demand there will be, and hopefully solutions for this very soon.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that you know, part of the shipping is protection, which I understand, but it's just, there's also like the I love my mail carrier, but mail carriers are not always super gentle. I've had packages arrive at places with broken jars of jam, which is just so sad. It's just so sad because then I have to send another one, which is more shipping, which is more time and more jam, and I like package them in reused bubble wrap, because if I get a package with bubble wrap, I'm just going to save it.
Yep.
And so much paper, and
Exactly.
there's just, there's only so many things that we can control once it leaves our house. But
yeah, and the shipping industry is in an interesting spot right now, post-pandemic. I think a lot of industries are going through a huge changes in the business model and the way that they think about solutions for their customers. And shipping is in a really interesting place where they have a driver shortage and the rates are so high, but you also have Amazon that's doing free shipping on everything. And so there's this interesting dichotomy in customers' minds that shipping shouldn't cost anything, but the reality is shipping costs quite a bit, and actually it costs quite a bit right now in particular.
Right.
And just those two don't line up necessarily, and then small businesses are stuck in the middle. And I was thinking, boy, if I ever started another business, I'm doing stickers or something. Like, it's going to be light as a feather.
It's going to go in an envelope.
Tiny. It's not going to be jam in a glass jar, right? Like, that's the hardest thing in the world to ship. So yeah, I have a whole new respect for what's included in that. And I had been advised by the warehouse to be really aware that we need to do a lot of drop tests, shipping tests, this and that, and figure out what the optimal shipping is. And then I'm such an optimist. I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. And I threw one in and shipped it, and it arrived broken. And I was like, okay, well, this is why I have the warehouse people. They are shipping experts. Why did I insert myself into this? That the situation.
So that's a less Jennifer moment.
Right, exactly. Why did I just like think that I knew more than they do? I have so much respect for what they're doing, and I just had to relearn that lesson. I just get so wound up, and I really wanted to deliver in time for a customer, for a really time sensitive thing, and then I had to learn that lesson one more time. Of
it arrived on time, right?
It did. It did, just not
in extra pieces.
Right condition. Exactly. So lessons we learned, hopefully not too many times, but yeah, I was like, I need to step back and let people do the thing that they are so good at. That's why you have this team. And it's not even that I wasn't listening to them. I understood what they were saying. I just really wanted to make it happen, and I got ahead of myself. And so that's not helpful.
Well, I mean, if they say it's going to be a little bit, and you have someone that needs something for a specific time, like
exactly,
you kind of have to. But
exactly,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
for sure.
So
wow, that's really interesting to hear. I mean, I really for so many things, I'm just like, I'm just doing things the hard way, but everything is the hard way when it comes to shipping right now, it seems.
Yeah. I love efficiency. I was just talking yesterday, one of the women I look up to so much in entrepreneurship, she seems to put 1 unit of effort into something and get 10 things out of it. And I was thinking, there's just so many things where I put 10 units of effort in, I get 1 output. And I just can't wait to get to that point in my business where things are just kind of flowing on their own. And then I thought, yeah, that's what you get with time, you know, and when you can follow kind of a blueprint that already exists. But I'm out here forging this very unbeaten path, and it's going to take an extra minute, and I just need to be a little more patient with myself and with the process, and understand that we're going to end up in a better place. But it's going to take a minute, and it's going to take some experimenting, and I need to embrace that inner scientist, that little toddler doing hundreds of science experiments a day, right? And be okay. Remember, it's okay to fail, because failure is learning. It's one more thing that didn't work, and we're that much closer to what will work, and onwards we go. And it's a really interesting, it doesn't go with my personality. I'd love to be great at everything. And I think a
Sure.
lot of women feel this way. And it's not how entrepreneurship is. And it's messy and it's competitive, and you learn and you break things along the way, and then you find a better way and move on. And some days it's easier than others.
True. That's a true story. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think patience is really important, and that's a hard lesson to learn. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty patient,
Hmm.
but I'm also not. There are things that I'm patient about and things that I'm not patient about. And I think that, being an entrepreneur, there's so there's so much to everything that there's just so much to learn. And if you don't have the funds to hire out, to have
Right.
someone else do it, there's just so much. And so there's just so much respect for the entrepreneurs, because you're forging an unbeaten path, really. I mean, and there's so many things to focus on. And whether you have a niche that is already put out, then that's great. You sort of have an outline. But if you don't, you just have to make it up and keep at it, because eventually it will be seen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally agree, Amy. I'm sending you all the 𝗚𝗿ecie shipping vibes that I can on those jars of jam. That's so tough.
Oh, I just shipped out a package today to my website lady, and she's in Florida, and it's 90 degrees here, and it's probably more than that in Florida. So it's just, I mean, I do it every month. It happens, but every so often they break, and that's a bummer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's not in Florida. It's not in Maine. It's in the West. But yeah. So not about me, not about my business.
Okay.
But I'm really excited about this. This is really interesting, and I love the idea of sustainable toys. That's just it's a great message to the next generation, for real.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's so much plastic out there, and that the new generation needs to understand why we're so panicked, because it's,
Exactly.
we're trying to fix things that we wrecked, or previous generations wrecked, or whatever. Like, we just want so badly to fix it for that generation, because it's already too late for us, it seems. But maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, if we all pull together, that's the dream, that we're all working on.
I would love for that to be the case, and I will hold on to my optimistic thoughts about that. And in the meantime, do everything I can in all the ways that I can.
Yep.
And the more people who are doing that, the better off we're going to be.
Right. And yeah, I mean, if you're teaching your kid, then she'll set an example for her friends, and we just need, yeah, we've got an uphill battle, and that's,
Yeah.
I'm up for it. We just have to keep plugging.
Yeah, absolutely. She
Cool.
caught a slug in the garden this weekend and she was so excited about it. So I feel like we're off to a great start. We just got to keep fostering that curiosity, right?
Awesome. What are you guys growing?
Not much this year. Some cherry tomatoes and like 2 or 3 squash is about all we've had. It's been a very short growing season. We had a very long winter here, and I'm worried we're going to have a really wet winter again. We had 10 inches of rain in a day, maybe 3 times last winter. And it snowed here in the
Right.
same mountains, and it's not supposed to do that. So climate change is here and we're feeling it. And the bees didn't even come out until I think the end of May, but everything bloomed in the end of February and March. So our plum tree didn't make any plums. There was no pollinators. It was just a really interesting year, and I hope we don't have too many more like that. But the tomatoes have made it, and the squash has made it, and I don't know that we're gonna get much else at this point. But we're trying. I'm not a gardener.
Yeah.
I just throw some plants in there and see what survives, and then the next year try again.
Oh, that's what I do too.
Yeah.
I try it
That's
all,
fun.
and
No
some things
pressure.
come up and some things don't. And
Yeah.
then you have volunteers that are perfectly healthy outside of the garden.
Yes. My rhubarb has failed for 3 years in a row, and then this year
Mm,
it took off. So something about this year, the cold and wet, probably. The rhubarb was really happy.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had very similar situation here because I didn't see bees until July,
hmm
I think. And so we are having a similar situation. My lettuces did not do great this year,
hmm
which is sad. And I don't even try to grow squash really anymore. Like I'll put
Yeah.
seeds in, but I don't expect anything because we get beetles really really bad, and I'm like
And it's so wet.
I'm not I'm not quick enough. I don't spend enough time in the garden apparently to take care of that. But I just saw this beautiful, perfect squash flower outside of my garden.
Great.
No beetles in there. I,
Great. Perfect. Well, that's the spot then.
I might see a squash this year.
Fingers crossed for you, Amy.
Oh my gosh. My goodness. But it is fun. I mean, the garden therapy is so great, and it's good for your daughter to have that experience.
Yes,
She must just love it.
she does like it.
And any chance for kids to be like, "Mom says this is okay."
Yeah.
And
And
not
to
in the way
eat
that's
stuff.
like that just sucks the fun out. Like mom says it's okay, so it's no fun. But mom says it's okay to get dirty. Oh yeah.
Or to just eat stuff that you find. This can go in my mouth. I can eat this because it's all the answer almost always feels like no. But yes, actually, that is a red tomato. Go for it. So
Awesome.
she's loving that. We picked some blackberries yesterday, not at our place, in a sunnier spot, and made a blackberry pie. And she had a blast with that. I totally forgot to add the sugar, but it still tastes amazing. So we're happy with that.
Mm,
So I'm just trying to give her as much exposure to the food chain and how this works. I grew up on a ranch. I raised animals with the Future Farmers of America, and I had to sell my lamb or my steer at the end of the season, and it was really hard. But I love a good cheeseburger or a steak. And so
mm,
I feel like that appreciation for where that comes from is really important. And I want to make sure that's passed on to her because I don't want her to be one of those people that just is not, she's not living in a realistic world. I want her to understand the sacrifice that goes into
hmm
any output, product, food, event. It takes so much work to make something. It's so easy to tear it down and dismantle it, but to actually move something forward, it requires so much forethought and effort. And I want her to have an appreciation for that.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's so important. My goodness. So, Jennifer, if someone is so inspired by what you're doing and what you're saying, how can people find you or follow you?
We're on Instagram and Facebook, and it's at 𝗵𝗍magic, MEEMZY. And we're also on YouTube. We have a couple of stop motion videos that are really cute. One features the dinosaur and birthday kits, little birthday party for the dino. And the other one is our mermaids, and they're under the sea and they find some trash and turn it into treasures. Super cute. They're just a couple of minutes. They're very innocent. They're very safe for young kids if you need a moment and you're looking for something for them to watch. And so that's on YouTube too at 𝗵𝗍magic. And that's all I'm doing for social right now because that is plenty. And I'm
Right.
really
With a
focused.
kid and a job and a business.
Yeah, I'm really focused on moving the business forward, and that's plenty of representation. So find us there. That's where our best content is, Instagram and YouTube. And I would love to hear from you if you like what we're doing.
Awesome. And I'll have all that information in the show notes as well as the little freebie that you're planning
Yeah,
to
I would
send
love
in.
that.
Yay.
Perfect. Thanks, Amy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me, Jennifer. This is so exciting. I'm like I know a lot of people, and I think that the neurodivergent is more common now than it has been in the past. So this is going to be a big help, I think.
I hope so. That's the goal. And thank you so much for the time, Amy. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit and talk about this. I put a lot of heart and soul into it, and I just love anytime someone will sit and listen to the journey that it's been. And thank you so much for this. And I cannot wait to visit Maine again as soon as I can.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Next time we'll have to try to hook up. I'll
That'd be
already know you
awesome.
before you come.
Exactly. That'd be great. Thanks,
Okay,
Amy.
great. Have a good afternoon.
You too.